Bedtime stories for adults. If, like me, some of your fondest memories are of being tucked in and hearing a favorite story as you drifted off to sleep, you'll love this channel. Here, you'll find gentle bedtime readings of my own books, narrated by my assistant May, in a soft, soothing voice designed to help you relax. No jarring sound effects, no sudden noises, just calm, feel good stories to ease you into sleep. If you enjoy these stories and would like to support the channel, you can also find all of my books available on Amazon. Mom had offered us a room in the house, but I shook my head. We'll stay in the barn with Mangleclaw for now. Best to keep him close. The barn smelled of new timber and resin, half built but solid enough to serve. The walls shut out the road and gave us privacy, though the wind still whistled through gaps in the boards. It wasn't comfortable, but it was safe, or safe enough. With the barn secured, we stripped the wagon bare, stacking every crate and bundle along the walls. Nimicie loosened the horses from their harnesses, speaking softly as she brushed their coats and filled their troughs with hay. They nudged her shoulder, grateful, before she led them into the corner where Ernie had roughed in 2 stalls. Meanwhile, I folded down the wagon's frame and pulled away the heavy blankets covering Mangleclaw. The bear's patched hide and scarred fur shone under the lantern light, and his snores rattled the boards beneath him. Carefully, I set to work cutting away the last of the sailcloth that bound him, each slice of my knife slow and deliberate. The little potbelly stove in the corner glowed warmly, Ernie's pride from earlier that day. He'd stocked it with enough firewood to last a week, and its crackle filled the space with comfort. The orange light softened the raw timbers, turning the half-finished barn into something that almost felt like home. When Nimicie finished with the horses, she came over with the wrapped gifts balanced in her arms. "I'll take these into the house," she said. "Do you want anything?" "Take 20 gold," I told her, keeping my eyes on the knife as it whispered through canvas. "For the next few days, you, Mom, and Irene take turns picking up Cindy from school. Keep her away from the ranch until bedtime. Take her shopping, fishing, show her the Griffon post on the east side of Loch Moden, anything to tire her out. But no exploring here, not yet." Nimicie tilted her head, amused. "And one more thing," I added. "Pay Mom for one of her rams and bring it back." She laughed, her eyes sparkling. "Oh, I don't know, Dawn. Asking women to go on a shopping spree on your dime may take some convincing." With a giggle, she disappeared through the doors into the night. Not long after, she returned, cheeks flushed, gifts delivered, and a long-horned ram tugging reluctantly on a rope. "Everyone loved the gifts," she said proudly. "And here's your ram, on a leash, like some kind of pet." I took the rope, shaking my head. "He's not a pet, Nimicie. He's food." I led it to the back and did what had to be done. Clean and efficient. While I worked the skin free, Nimicie talked, her voice filling the space with stories. She told me how the ranch had looked when they first arrived, 4 days ago now. It was an utter mess. Fences falling, weeds taller than Cindy. We all pitched in, and little by little, it started to look like a home. Your mother showed up just yesterday from Ironforge, still grumbling about the journey, but she hasn't stopped working since she set foot here. And I had to play dolls with Cindy all evening to keep her away from the barn. You'd better go say hi to her in the morning, Dawn, if you want that to keep working." I gave a grunt of agreement, my hands busy with the knife. "I will." When the work was done, I hefted the skinned ram over one shoulder, its head dangling in my other hand. Nimicie carried the hide rolled under her arm, ready to wash it outside. Together we stepped back into the main barn and froze. Mangleclaw was no longer sprawled flat. He sat upright on the wagon, massive shoulders hunched, his scarred chest rising and falling with each deep breath. One clawed paw scratched lazily at his belly, his eyes half closed but sharp, glinting in the lantern glow. For a moment the world narrowed to nothing but the sound of his breathing. Nimicie tensed beside me. Her bow came off her back in a single smooth motion, a net arrow knocked in the string. I set the ram's head down carefully, my heart hammering in my chest. The bear turned his head, regarding us with something that was not quite hunger, not quite curiosity. His ears flicked, his nostrils flared, and then, with a huff that sounded almost like a sigh, he scratched again and settled deeper onto the wagon bed. Nimicie held the bow steady, eyes never leaving him. "He's awake," she whispered, voice tight. I nodded slowly, every nerve alight. Yeah, he's awake. And for the first time since we dragged him down from the mountain, I felt the true weight of what it meant to keep such a beast alive under our roof. Mangleclaw shifted his weight on the wagon, eyes narrowing as his gaze settled on Nimicie. His great head tilted, and then a voice rumbled out of him, deep and gravelly like stone grinding on stone. Stop pointing that thing at me. I'm not going to hurt anyone. Nimicie stiffened, fingers tightening on the bowstring. She repeated his words aloud for me, her voice taut. Then she answered back sharply, arrow still drawn. We'll see. The bear gave a slow blink, then turned his gaze to me. His eyes, sharp and ancient, locked with mine. His chest expanded with a sigh that rattled the rafters. I want to thank you, my new friend, he said, his voice softer now, almost weary. I have not slept like that for I don't know how long. Nimicie's voice followed, translating so I could hear it clear. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to relax, though my heart still thundered. More than 300 years, buddy, I said quietly. I stepped forward, hefting the skinned ram onto the wagon beside him. The bear's nostrils flared, his head dipping toward the meat. Here, Ball, I muttered with a crooked smile, tossing the ram's head onto the other side. This is the last one, buddy. From now on, you want to eat, you hunt. The bear rumbled deep in his chest, an approving growl, or maybe laughter, I couldn't quite tell. I cut off 2 flank steaks and laid them across the potbelly stove, the fat sizzling as the fire licked them. The rich smell of roasting meat filled the barn, cutting through the tang of sawdust and straw. Nimicie had lowered her bow by then, though the net arrow still rested ready in her hand. Her eyes never left the bear, wary but softer now. For the first time, the tension in the barn began to ease. The 3 of us, man, woman, and beast, sharing the glow of firelight and the promise of uneasy trust. The bear gulped down the meat in a flash, his jaws working with a bone-cracking efficiency that made my skin prickle. He gave the ram's head a sniff, then lost interest, laying down with a grunt. With a lazy roll, he tipped himself right off the wagon, the old wheels squealing as the frame nearly collapsed under his weight. The floorboards shook as he lumbered forward. My hand twitched toward my knife, but instead of striking, the great beast came to sit beside me. Then, with a deep rumbling sigh, he stretched out and pressed the warmth of his body against my back, his fur coarse but comforting. It was his way of saying thank you. Yowel, hiff, hiff, came the strange noise from his throat. Nimicie lowered her bow at last, sliding it across her back, though her fingers still lingered near the quiver. Slowly, cautiously, she walked closer. He wants to know where we are. He says the ram tasted funny, not from his mountain, and he asks what this place is. We are on my mom and dad's ranch, buddy, I answered, shifting to lean back more comfortably against him. We're hiding you in the barn for now. I exhaled, letting myself sink into the warmth of his flank. Feels good to have my back against bear fur again, I added with a smile toward Nimicie. Her eyes narrowed in mock disgust. Yeah, well, I'll stay over here for a while if you don't mind. Hiff, came the rumble from Mangleclaw. Nimicie tilted her head, listening. He says, speaking of your back, are you okay, my new friend? I chuckled softly, reaching down to pat his coarse fur. I'm fine, buddy. Luckily, you got me in the same spot as before, and that area has fewer nerves now. After the first bout of pain, it went away. Nimicie came closer this time. She leaned me forward, tugged my shirt up, and frowned at the scar. Then she swatted the bear's shoulder. Look what you did! He was just coming to help you. Mangleclaw blinked slowly, unbothered, as Nimicie released my shirt and shoved me against his furry side. She crossed her arms, tapping her foot with exaggerated irritation. Hiff! Came another low rumble. Nimicie's expression softened, her voice gentler. Nimicie. My name is Nimicie, and yes, I do love him very much. Yowl hiff hiff, yowl, answered the bear. Her mouth fell open, then curved into a disbelieving laugh. Why, you sneaky bear, thank you for telling me, though. She turned to me, eyes shining. He says he knows we love each other very much. While he pretended to be asleep, he would listen to us talk. And you'd tell him stories about you and this other bear, Chili. The words hit me hard, stirring something deep. My throat tightened, a tear springing to the corner of my eye. He said, Nimicie went on softly, he wished he had a friend like you, and he wished he was Chili. I swallowed, placing a hand firmly against his thick hide. You are, buddy. In my realm, you are. Hiff. His tongue rasped against the back of my head in a wet, clumsy lick that made Nimicie burst out laughing. He says you owe him a story, she translated, grinning. You were going to tell him how he got his name, Chili. Aye. Would you be liking to hear the story, me friend? I started in a thick dwarven burr, grinning. Nimicie balled her fist at me, her eyes narrowing. Dawn, I swear to God. Okay, English it is, I said, chuckling. I spun onto my side and leaned against Mangleclaw's flank, resting my head on his fur. Nimicie, not to be ignored, came and sat by the bear's head, scratching gently behind his ears as I began the tale. Now let me see. We were hiking through your mountains, headed for the swampland on the other side. We didn't come here the first time. Too bitter cold, too high of peaks. But I had to keep you out of sight. For 3 long days, we trekked through those unforgiving cliffs until at last we reached the dockyards on the far side. I bribed the captain of a small ship to take us north to Grizzly Hills. There's a King's Guard post there, the place where they train their animals. I shot Nimicie a glance. You did not hear that part. Her lips twitched, but she said nothing, just kept scratching at the bear's ear. Anyway, I went on, when we arrived, I got us in with a little white lie. I'm here to train His Majesty's favorite hunting companion. This was just after the old king had died, before I was ever assigned to Anduin. That lie could have cost me my head. I gave a short laugh. Well, word got back to the new king, Anduin, just a boy of 14 at the time, that the world's biggest bear was his favorite hunting companion. He'd never been hunting in his life, though he wanted to. So he jumped on his griffin, Sir Farts-a-lot, if you can believe it, and flew all the way north to see us, with 20 guards scrambling to catch up. He arrived just in time to watch you gulp down a full mountain stag, one bite, gone. Mangleclaw huffed through his nose at that, as though amused. The boy king came right up to me, chest puffed out, and barked, "Give him another one, Sergeant!" I snapped to attention and said, "Sorry, Your Majesty, I do not have another one." He frowned, then looked around at all the guards watching. You could see the panic rising in him. He'd made an order and couldn't back down. So he shouted, "My bear is hungry! A pouch of gold and a week's leave to the first 10 guards who bring me a kill as big or bigger than that one." I laughed, remembering it clearly. Well, chaos erupted. Griffin riders were swooping off the cliffs, snatching live bucks and dropping them at your paws as fast as you could swallow them. I eased the boy back, hand on his shoulder, trying to keep him from getting too close. He hissed at me. "Touching the king?" "You could lose your head for that, Sergeant." And I said, "So could you, Your Majesty," nodding at the way you were tearing through those kills. Nimicie snorted, covering her mouth with her hand. For a whole day it went on. Stags, sheep, wolves, even a few bears, rained down into the courtyard. The guards were cheering, betting against you, saying you couldn't eat the next one. Until finally, mid-meal, you fell asleep right there, half a haunch still in your jaws. The sheep beside you keeled over from sheer fright, dead of a heart attack. I laughed so hard I had to wipe my eyes. And the boy king raised his arms and shouted, "You're King's Guard polar bear." The courtyard erupted with cheers, drowning out your snores. Then he turned to me, all pride and bravado, and demanded, "What is his name, Sergeant?" I didn't dare tell him your true name, Mangleclaw, so I said, "He hasn't been named yet, Your Majesty." The king ordered me to fix that. I shook my head, smiling at the memory. An hour later, a major came up with new orders. I was to spend 6 months at the post, training you as a King's Guard companion, and then report to the palace as the boy king's personal guard. I shifted on the straw, leaning harder into Mangleclaw's fur. The next day, I was on the docks, fishing, leaning against you, trying to think of a name. A little girl, couldn't have been more than 10, walked up to us, arms full of blankets, no fear in her at all. "Mister," she said, "you and your bear look cold. I brought you 2 blankets from my daddy's wagon, only 30 silver each." Nimicie chuckled, shaking her head in wonder. I laughed, amazed at her bravery, and handed her a gold coin. "Keep the change," I told her. She squealed with delight, gave me my blanket, and tucked the other over you, scratching your head as if you were no more dangerous than a barn cat. "There you go, cold bear," she said. "That'll warm you up. What's your bear's name, mister?" I paused, swallowing the lump in my throat. And right there it came to me. His name is Chili, sweetness. I let the silence hang, broken only by the pop of the stove and the deep rhythm of the bear's breathing. And that is how you got your name. Just then, my mother came into the barn carrying 2 plates of food and a pair of tankards sloshing with mead. She set them down on a hay bale, still fussing with her apron, and turned to speak. Only then did her eyes fall on the great white bear. She gasped, hand to her chest. "Oh, Chili, you poor thing! All those arrowhead scars!" She shook her head fiercely. "I'll go fetch my new sewing kit." "No, Mom," I barked, striding over in a panic. I dropped to one knee, catching her hands before she could storm out. Looking her square in the eye, I said firmly, "He don't know ye, Ma. He's a new bear, and not your Chili." Bethane Hammersmith Zart narrowed her eyes, shoved me aside with a strength that had cowed me since childhood, and marched straight to Mangleclaw. Without hesitation, she got down on her knees in the straw, cupped the beast's scarred cheeks in both hands, and spoke to him as if he were a misbehaving boy caught in the kitchen. "I am your new human mother," she declared. "I'll be loving you like me own son. But if you kill my sheep, I'll be having you as a rug. And if you try to eat me, I'll climb down your throat and gut you from the inside." From her bodice, she drew the small knife she always carried, flashing it under his nose to prove her point. Mangleclaw gave a low, surprised huff, and then his great blue tongue lolled out and dragged wetly across her face. Hiff! That was it. Mom bolted upright, apron yanked over her face to hide her tears, and fled out the barn doors. Nimicie collapsed onto the floor, rolling in the straw, clutching her stomach as gales of laughter shook her. At last, gasping between fits, she managed to choke out, "He said, 'Call me Chili, Ma.'" The barn rang with her laughter, the fire snapped in the stove, and for the first time since bringing him down the mountain, the name Chili felt like it belonged. Bedtime stories for adults. If, like me, some of your fondest memories are of being tucked in and hearing a favorite story as you drifted off to sleep, you'll love this channel. Here, you'll find gentle bedtime readings of my own books, narrated by my assistant May, in a soft, soothing voice designed to help you relax. No jarring sound effects, no sudden noises, just calm, feel-good stories to ease you into sleep. If you enjoy these stories and would like to support the channel, you can also find all of my books available on Amazon.